class. Today we're going to be learning about something called multiplication. So I want you guys to pull out your notebooks and we're going to write down the word first so we can learn about what it is. And the word is multiplication. Okay, so we have the word multiplication written down. That's how you spell it. And we're going to talk about what that means a little bit. Now, multiplication is basically just adding in groups. So after you put multiplication, I want you to write down the definition, which is adding in groups. I know it doesn't make sense yet, but it's going to make sense here in a minute. But right now, multiplication is adding in groups. Now, what does that mean to add in groups? Let's look about what that's going to mean. So let's say I have 3 plus 3 plus 3. You guys know how to do addition already. So we have 3 plus 3 plus 3. What's that going to be? Okay, so we have 3 plus 3, which is 6. And then 6 plus 3 is 9. So we know that that's going to be 9. But there is an easier way to solve that problem. Now, when you're multiplying numbers, you're having to memorize. It's going to be lots of memorization, which sounds like it's going to be a lot of work, but there's a lot of things you guys already memorized you don't even realize you memorized. So, for example, if I was to say 1 plus 1, you know the answer that's going to be 2. You don't have to even think about it. You don't have to have your fingers pulled out to count. You automatically know that 1 plus 1 is 2. And you automatically know that 2 plus 2 is 4. So you guys have memorized a lot of stuff so far. But to multiply, you have to memorize a little bit more. And it's going to make math much, much easier after you learn how to do that. So let's say we want to take the same problem, but instead of having it to be an addition problem, we're going to make it into a multiplication problem. So we're going to say 3. That's the number we're starting with, and we have 1, 2, 3 threes. So the multiplication problem for this would be 3 times 3. Now, if you notice, I made a little x. X means to multiply. Just like that means to add, the little plus sign there, that means to add. Or if I was to make a little dash, that means subtract. Those are just symbols. So if you ever see an X like this, right now that's going to mean to multiply. Now you probably noticed that I didn't say 3 multiplied by 3 at first. I said 3 times 3. That is just another word for multiply. Just like instead of saying 3 added to 3 means the same thing as 3 plus 3, 3 plus 3. Plus and add mean the same thing, the same way that multiplication and times. Times is just a lot easier to say. So if you hear me say 3 times 3, times just means to multiply. So 3, and we know the x means times, 3 times 3 is going to equal 9. How do we know that? Because 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. So I've memorized this. You guys haven't memorized that yet, but that's okay. You're going to learn to. But we're going to take a look now at how this would actually look if it was a real life thing. We would have real life things and we had to multiply them, how they would look. So let's pretend like we are doing this exact same problem. We would start out with 3 boxes. Okay? Now, each one of these 3 boxes has 3 balls in it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is how multiplication can look. If it helps you visualize it in your head, this would be kind of a multiplication problem. If I wanted to, I could go in and I could go, okay, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 balls. But if I was to multiply them, I would go, okay, well, I know that I have 3 boxes, and I know that there's 3 balls in each box. So that means 3 times 3, which is 9. See how much faster that is for me to know than having to go back and add all these numbers together? Instead of having to go back and add and count all these numbers, I can just count the boxes and then count how many is in each box and know the answer. So this was going to equal 9. So all 3 of these are the same problem, just written differently. This is an addition one. This is multiplication. This is just a little picture to show you how it's going to look. So let's look at some more problems to see if we can solve some other ones. Let's do 4 boxes. Okay, so we have 4 boxes. And let's say we did balls last time. Let's do, okay, each one of these 4 boxes, that's a bean. We're going to do beans this time. So we have beans in each box. So there's 2 beans in this box. And there's 2 beans in this box. So each box I'm going to make 2 little beans in there. Okay, those are my beans. They're going to work. Okay, so we have 4 boxes and each box has 2 beans in it. How do you think we would write that? Well, if we were having an addition problem, we would say, okay, well that is 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And if we want to do it the hard way, we would count them out. We would go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we know we have 8. But we don't want to sit there and do it the hard way. We're going to do multiplication. So we're going to go, okay, well, I know we have 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. So I know we have 4 boxes. And then we're going to multiply them. And I know that there's 2 beans in each box. So I know that it's 4 times 2. And what's that going to be? It's going to be the same thing as adding all these together. It's going to be 8. And so that's how it looks when you're doing that. Now let's say that I was to see a problem that said 2 times 4. What would that be? It would be the same thing as this. They're both 8. And you're like, why does that work that way? Well, if I was to say 1 plus 2 equals 3, it's the same thing as 2 plus 1. They both equal 3. So with multiplication and addition, it doesn't matter which order you have the numbers, and you're going to get the same answer. So if it's easy for you to think about having the 2 beans and putting that first and then counting the boxes, that's fine too, because you're going to get the same answer either way you're going to do that, okay? So let's try one a little bit harder. Let's do some with a whole bunch of stuff in it. We're going to do 4 boxes again. This time let's do apples. So I'm going to put 1, or cherries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cherries in each box. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes, and each one has 5 cherries. If I was to count each one of those all by themselves, that would take a long time. I would have to count each one of these all by themselves. Even if I was to write the math problem, which would be 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, that is a lot of adding. It would take you a little while to solve that problem. You go, okay, well 5 plus 5 is 10, and 10 plus 5 is 15. And 15 plus 5 is 20. But if I know my times tables, well, I know if I have 4 times 5, I automatically, that's not a very good times, there we go. I automatically know that that's 20 because I've memorized them. So I know that that's going to be 20. Or, if, like I said before, if you want to write 5 times 4, you're going to get the same answer. So let's go over what we've learned so fast. So far we've learned the multiplication is just adding in groups. We know that x means to multiply, or I might say times. We know that we can write the numbers either way, and they're going to get to be the same answer. And we know how we can kind of picture them in our head if it helps us look at them a little bit. And so now that we've kind of learned the basics of how it's going to work, I want you to start memorizing your times tables. And we're going to start with the easiest ones in a second. We're going to be practicing memorizing our ones times tables. And so I want you guys to go ahead and get a piece of paper and start writing down. We're going to go through all the ones times tables. It's going to be very easy, and I'm sure you guys are going to get it really fast, okay?